Hello class! Today we will be transforming our Figma website designs into a real working website using HTML and CSS. So make sure you pull up both your REPL and your Figma page so you can have both as a reference. So in our REPL, let's start by creating a div in between our body tag. Make sure that our starting div has an ending div to match it. And we're going to give our div a class of BG. This is going to be our background div. So now we're going to head over to the left-hand side and click on the file that's called style.css. We will not be using the style tag today. Instead, we'll be using the CSS file. So once you're in this file, you should see a blank page, and we're going to start by selecting our BG class. Remember that classes have class periods, therefore we need to select it using a period followed by the class name. Don't forget your curly braces as well. So once we have our BG class selected, we're now going to provide a background image property, and on the value side, we're going to say URL followed by parentheses. Now let's go ahead and find the URL or the image address of the image that you used for your Figma page. If you can't find the exact image, don't worry, you can just go ahead and Google another one that's very similar. But you'll have to locate an image so that you can copy the image address and paste it inside our parentheses in between quotes. Next, we are going to set our body and HTML properties to be a height of 100%. We are also going to set the margin to be 0 because we don't want any border or margin around our body content. Now, in order to get our image to show up, we also have to set a height of 100% in our .bg property. You might notice your background starting to repeat. So in order to get rid of this, we're going to create a background-size and set it to a cover. This will allow your picture to cover the entire screen. And in order to prevent any repetition, we're also going to write background-repeat and say no repeat. We are also going to set the image to be centered on our screen, so we're going to say background-position center. Alright, now we want to write our name and our caption. So going back in our index.html file, we're going to create a div and give it a class called text. And make sure we have the ending div tag. Once we open up the div, we are going to create two different spans. The first span will be our name, and the second span will be our headline. And our second span will be our caption. In between our spans, we want to have a BR so that each word is on its own line. Alright, so now if we hit run, we'll see both lines of text. And we want to style it so that it now looks just like our Figma boards. So we're going to do all of this inside our CSS file. Let's start by selecting our text class. I want to change the position of our text to be absolute. And then I would like for us to have a top of 50%. And what this is going to do is it's going to push our text to the middle of our screen vertically. Now we are going to set our width to be 100% so that our text is responsive. I also want to create some space on the left, so I'm going to give it a padding left of about 10%. Alright, now let's go ahead and increase the size of our font. I'm going to say font-size, and the size of our font can be found on our Figma page. So if you go to inspect, you can see that the font was 120 pixels for me. So I'm going to try this one first and see if I like it. Once I hit run, I'm noticing that it's a little bit too big, so I'm actually going to decrease it to be 90 pixels. Alright, now I'm going to change the font family of my text, and how you make your text look like the one on Figma is you have to find your font on Google Fonts. Now, it's okay if you don't find it, you can look for something similar, but the very first thing you'll have to do is go onto the website of Google Fonts, find the one that you like, and go ahead and press select this font. Once you see the pop-up, you're going to go to embed, copy the link tag, and paste this inside your HTML file in between your head tags. Once you have that done, you're going to go back to the embed page, copy the font family, and paste this into your CSS file inside the .text class. We're now going to reduce the size of our captions, so going back to HTML, we're going to find the span tag of our caption and give it a class of the word caption. Once we do this, we can go back to our CSS, select it with a period, and set it so that our caption has a font size that is much smaller than our text. To get rid of the large spacing in between our name and our caption, we're going to go back inside the .text and give it a line height of 0.5. Finally, we're going to change the color of our text, and you can get the specific color on your Figma board by going back to inspect, copying down this hex, and pasting that into our CSS. Don't forget the hashtag if you're using a hex value. So if you click on this open in a new tab button in the upper right hand corner, you can preview your website and see what it looks like as if it were a real live website. So this is all looking pretty good, and now we're ready to create our navigation bar.